Well, hello, dear sisters and brothers. I'm Andrea Cho. Welcome to Catholic SG Radio. This is The Bright Side. And here on The Bright Side, we invite our sisters and brothers in Christ to come in and share their stories of faith and hope that glorify God in their lives and in the work that they have also been called to do. Today marks the beginning of a collaborative series with Catholic Family Life. And today, my co-presenter is this very handsome man, Raymond Wong. And
Hello.
I think you met him last week, right? Or 2 weeks ago. Ray is himself a husband and a father of 2 young children. He is currently the marketing and communications manager at Catholic Family Life. And we've also had him come on, as I said recently, on the bright side about his family. Yes, sharing with us that one. Very nice one. Thanks, Ray.
Well, thanks for having me, Andre. Thank you for agreeing to my crazy plans.
Not at all.
Yeah, well, today we are talking about connecting with the teenage stranger. Now, personally, for myself, I have 2 kids, as you mentioned, and I am terribly afraid for when they become teens as well.
Wait till they grow up.
I know, right? I know. Well, so today with the March school holidays just around the corner, how do we connect with the Gen Z of today? Well, hopefully I don't have to worry because we'll be asking our 2 guests over here who have tons of experience raising their children and a couple of teens, I know. So hopefully through this conversation, maybe we'll get some new ideas, some tips maybe, right? I don't know, fingers crossed.
Okay, so we want to welcome Daniel Goh, and his lovely wife, Michelle Nguyen.
Yes.
Did I get that right?
Yes.
Yes?
Well
Okay.
done, man.
Yes. So they've been married for 17 years.
Yes.
And have had 5 children, or have 5 children, and they have been serving at the Catholic Engagement Encounter since 2005.
2005, yeah. 2005,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. And
I know. I look young. It's okay. It's unbelievable.
Okay. If you insist, yes, indeed. You actually, yeah, wonderful. And you both are parishioners at the Church of St.
SFX,
Francis Xavier.
yes.
Right. Okay. So let's just move back a little bit, and I want to ask you both what you remember about your own teenage years. Were you a difficult child, other than a pretty one?
She's
I
still
suppose?
difficult.
I have to say I was the only child.
Okay.
So it's surprising, but I think I was a pretty easy child because there was nobody to push the boundary. I was the only one, and if I pushed the boundary, I would be whacked left, right, center, right?
Oh.
So it's like, okay, don't push the boundary, Michelle. Just be normal. Just stay calm. Just stay cool. Just stay under the radar.
Oh.
And yeah, so I think I was a pretty easy kid. My parents would say she's parenting is so easy.
Can we
Yeah,
get a
right.
mom or dad?
Yeah, let's give them a call.
Love you, mommy.
Better say quickly, right?
Yeah.
Dan, what were you like?
Okay, so I was the middle child of 3 boys.
Okay.
So in a sense, it was just a lot of noise, a lot of running around the house. We were just creating a ruckus all the time. But I was fortunate in the sense that my older brother was always the one getting reprimanded, getting the scoldings, and
Yes, I
Yes.
know. The older ones have to carry this
Right.
burden.
so I was pretty much given a lot of independence. It was basically just on my own, very
Right.
much, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that allowed me to really just experience teenage years on my own terms, yeah.
Who do you say, would you say that you spoke most to as a friend when you were a kid or in your teenage years? Right?
I think there's always this divide between teenagers and their parents, right? Or adults. So you tend not to want to talk to adults. I guess in a way, there weren't any adults whom I could really confide in.
Right.
So it was really just a lot of friends, But I found that choosing the right friends actually mattered. It made a big difference to how I grew up and in my formation in my teenage years.
Right, right.
For me, I always go to the parish priest's office.
Really?
Yeah, I know. I thought I was going to be a nun.
Okay.
But no, God had other plans.
Yes.
So I would always go to the parish priest office and sit down, and I would just chat with them, and I would, just be crying if I had any problems, or I just be just like doing my own thing, and then just seeing him doing his own thing and ask why this, why that, and that's it.
Unusual.
I know.
But interesting.
Sister Michelle.
System.
Sister Michelle has a good ring to it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it does.
It's too late.
Five kids a bit too late. Yeah. So beside going to the parish priest, right? I'm sure some struggles you faced. Care to share a little bit about that?
I think
I thought your girlfriends would have been, your maybe other second soundboarder.
yeah, they did, but I guess for me it was a lot of trying to balance about the faith as well as the peer pressure. I was like, for one, I was in a convent in an IJ school, all girls school, and one of the greatest thing that I had to struggle with was also like this sexuality. Whether is this attraction for this girl really something more, or it's just a hormonal phase,
Right.
that sort of thing. And I wanted someone else to balance the worldly views, and to say like, oh, okay, Michelle, I think this is normal. This is you embracing your own sexuality, but at the same time, it's not something to something that you need to feel bad about.
Right.
And I think if normally girlfriends, they try to stick by you all the way, even whether it's right or wrong, especially when you're a teenager. They'll stick by you like, no, I think she's cute, and everything. Anyway, so yeah, I guess that's the whole difference for me at that time. I really needed someone to balance me out. So that's why the parish priest became a very convenient choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Was that something you also spoke to your parents about at the time?
No.
No.
Right.
Sorry, mommy.
Yeah. Yeah. So what happened when boys came into your life?
Oh, that's even harder, right? I'm like the only child, and then it's like, oh, better hide, that sort of thing. And but parents being parents, they know. Especially mothers, they know.
They do.
They do. So to my kids who are listening, I know.
But it's a certain female intuition, but it is also a mother's connection. I feel it, that very, very strong bond.
I guess so, and I guess it's also a lot of grace. There's a lot of grace from God.
Indeed.
That this soft prompting to tell you to act on something, or to make sure that something doesn't get too way out of hand.
Yeah.
I guess it's the Holy Spirit trying to protect the family, to keep them intact, to keep them holy, or to keep them like normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dan, so how did you woo this only child?
Especially when she was, thinking of the convent, or rather entering the religious life.
I did go for
A retreat?
a retreat for
Right?
that.
Oh, wow.
We actually met in university at the Catholic Student Society, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So because I was always hanging out at the wrong faculty. I was at the Arts and Social Science side.
when you were supposed to be in the
In the science
science side, right? So she was in the arts.
Yes.
In fact. Okay. Okay.
Obviously, the more happening one.
Yeah. No, but honestly, I mean, how eventually did you, I'm sure her parents must have been quite worried when this man came to your house one day and
No,
said-
I guess in a sense, her parents were a little stricter because she was an only child,
understandably,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. But over time, it just you warm up to them, and
Right.
it gets easier after that.
Okay. I mean, okay. So the reason I'm asking you this in a sense, this recollection,
Right.
because your kids are going to be going through that very, very soon, right?
Oh man, yes. Oh.
Or are they already?
Not yet.
Not
Not quite
dating yet.
Not quite
Not
yet.
dating yet. God's been kind.
But it's okay. So, but this is the most natural thing that's going to happen, right?
Yes.
And so, how are you all as parents preparing for this transition or this new phase? Actually,
I think we should always try to encourage them to be open to us. If we show that we're accepting, don't pass judgments on their choices, it's always easier for them to open up to us, which is basically communication. You want them to be able to communicate with us their desires, their inner thoughts. So by not being judgmental, even if inside you feel like,
yeah,
yes.
I know.
So you just have to bite your tongue, take a step back, and take a deep breath, and just observe and see what happens.
Okay, so that's the man's perspective. Mummy?
Mommy's perspective. Oh man, mommy's going to have a lot to struggle with.
Ah,
I guess basically there's always this fear that she will end up with the wrong guy.
mm.
I remember I asked Daniel before, between a useless son or a useless daughter, which is worse? And he said a useless son-in-law. I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, oh, now you're adding pressure. And I'm like, okay, I just need to, but I just need to always, I don't think I have to worry so much to the future. I mean, yes, I'll be prepared, but I cannot use the future's permutation to rob me from my present current moment, because I guess with all these fears, right, it just robs me and it just paralyzes me, and it will just take away the moment of being to enjoy the moment with her or with them for the matter,
Right.
and that's the struggle that I don't even think it's a parent thing. I think it's humans, right? As Christians, right? We always just think of the worst case scenario and we just live in that worst case scenario and tada, that's it. But we don't leave room and we don't hope for better. We always prepare for the worst, but we never hope for the better. And we don't leave room for something that could allow a miracle to happen. So I guess for now, I'm always telling him, okay, Daniel, I think you need to treat me better. so you leave a benchmark, right, for your daughter to know.
That's a good excuse, but
Yeah.
you're absolutely correct.
It's not an excuse, sorry.
But I always do.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I guess it leaves a benchmark for the girls
Yes.
to know that, all right, this is how a woman should be treated at home.
Yeah.
And this is how mommy should treat daddy at home. There's this couple thing, and they're out there looking for something that is similar to this, that's home.
Mm.
Yeah. I guess that's for us now, that's how we can better prepare it. Mm.
Michelle, do you actually see like yourself in your daughter? Back when you were her age.
Does that scare you?
Yeah, does that scare you?
I think I'm a nicer version.
Oh.
But she's 2.0, right? So,
A little bit.
But she's only 50% of me.
okay.
I think she has her own challenges.
Mm.
I was the only child, so obviously I didn't have anybody to push the boundaries, right?
Mm.
But she is the oldest of 5.
Yeah. Wow.
And she is like, I think sometimes she would struggle with personal time with me,
Mm.
as well as trying to figure out. She's the first to try to push the boundary. Obviously, she didn't push the boundary. It's probably number 3 or number 4, right? Where discipline becomes a bit laxed.
Mm.
Yeah, and they are the ones who are trying to push the boundary, but she's still the one who's trying to maintain
Yeah.
status quo and everything. So I guess her pressure for her would be, all right, now I have to share mommy. I have to share mommy's time. I have to share mommy's attention. I have to suck it up, to understand that certain things cannot be said, and everything. So I guess she's trying to figure her identity also. And she needs her privacy is always invaded by her younger brother, her younger sister, you know, da, 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 da. Everybody is just in her own space, right? She doesn't really have a space. So I guess we have different challenges for the both of us lah.
Do you make time then for, a special time for your eldest girl?
Okay, so what we've been experimenting with the last couple of holidays, I mean, it started just after COVID, right?
Right.
So we couldn't really travel. What we did with the kids, I took a day off work. We spent one day with each kid on his or her own time, and we would let the kid choose what they wanted to do. So we would go out for a whole day. For instance, if they wanted to go to, say, some amusement park, so it would be just the two of us and
that one-
particular kid. Yeah.
Wow.
So my oldest, she chose something very interesting. She wanted to try taking public transport. So we had to, and there was no real direction. So we had like a dice app on the phone. You spin it and follow the numbers of the nearest bus that we were going to take.
Yeah.
And then we took the train back. But the catch was that we had to take the train for all the lines in Singapore.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we had to connect it all the way back to where our original place was.
Was that
Right.
a one-day affair or?
Yeah.
Yes, that was
Several-
like 4 hours, I think.
It was
Wow.
like 15,000 steps clock, you know. But it was fun. It was fun because it was the moment where the three of us went up. Oh, so this is an LRT. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Like, whoa, wow. It is a unique experience. And she thought of it. She came up with it. She's
Wow.
like, all right, let's have a date. Let's just do something interesting and we do this. you know,
Yeah,
that
she
sort
was
of thing.
navigating all the way. So
Yeah.
we were just following along. Yeah.
How old is she, if you don't mind?
16.
She said, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Wow.
Yeah.
And you have another teen, right?
Yeah, I do. Isaac. Isaac's like a 14 this year.
Right.
Right.
What's the difference? Like, I mean, not just elder and younger, but I mean, boy and girl, as a teen that age.
I think the boys are more they're more clammed up,
Mm-hmm.
I feel. Yeah. They forgive easier.
Mm.
Yeah. They write it off easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, oh, this mommy, this is just mommy. You know, that sort of thing. Like mommy's nagging. Oh, okay, yeah, this
Yeah.
mommy.
Actually, boys generally are.
It's a survival instinct,
Yeah,
I guess, right? Oh,
Selective hearing.
Yeah.
so yeah. But
No, it's careful here.
Right.
okay, that's marketing. But anyway, I think for Isaac's more he is in the first place, they're already two very different people. I mean, Isaac's more he's gentler, he's kinder. So he's more giving compared to my daughter. But that's just personality.
Right.
But in terms of reaching out, I think for me it's harder to reach out to the boy than to the girl
Why is
because
that?
it's just for me it was a bit tough because I guess growing up for him as well is not as academically inclined
Yeah.
as the older one. So
Okay.
he feels that mommy's always been coming after him for his grades and
Yeah,
everything,
yeah.
right? So it didn't help that there was this whole struggle, and everything.
Right.
And we do work on it. And I guess now he realizes that actually it's not about grades. It's just about doing my best.
Right. And you've communicated this to him?
Many times. Yeah. But it was really nice because at one point I don't think that I needed to communicate that to him. So there was once that he was really frustrated with me, right? And Audrey witnessed the whole thing. So Audrey, my other teenager, witnessed the whole thing. And she was like, okay, bro, I think I need to talk to you.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was so frustrated downstairs. I was downstairs in the house and she's like, bro, come, let's just have a 2-hour talk. And she just went on like, look, mom's not like that, okay? And she's obviously like that, da 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 da. And after a while, after 2 hours, I didn't know all these had happened. And after that, he sent me an SMS or WhatsApp message. It's like, sorry, mommy, I know you care. I promise I'll try better again. You know? And I was like, whoa, what what happened? I didn't pray, you know. I didn't pray that day. I was like, oh. So
So you had an intercessor, actually.
Yeah.
yes.
You did.
Yes, exactly. Holy Spirit grace, right?
Yeah.
And
No, but through your daughter, I mean,
Yes.
in that sense.
Correct.
Yeah, it's surprising because she doesn't usually do this.
Yes. And I went up and I saw both of them chatting and I was like, okay, so what happened? And they told me what had happened and how Audrey had sat down and just talked to him about it.
Mm.
And my heart was so full that day. I was so disappointed, but because of what he did, because he lied, but at the same time, seeing that, I was like, oh, there's hope, you know? Yeah, and I was just so grateful for that moment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, just listening to that, I mean, as parents, I think we have one of the hardest things is to try not to compare,
Mm.
you know, with the other, and it's just a human thing. But if we make a decision and realize that every child is a gift, and each and every child is unique in his or her own, you know, making, right? That the Lord has put them into our family. I think we just need to realize that. Because sometimes we forget, as parents, because we want to educate them, right? We want to bring them up. And that sometimes, yeah, we it's a little bit misplaced, but we still love them.
Yes.
And the beautiful part is what Isaac said to you, right?
Yes. And you know that there was a openness.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't matter what the result would be, but there was an openness.
Mm,
And there was this hope of, let's try again.
right.
And I guess in many times in motherhood with teenagers, especially when you have frustrating moments,
Yeah.
there is always this reminder. You need always this reminder that, okay, mommy, let's try again. You know, and that is enough.
How about Daniel? You know, does Isaac turn to you? You know, when he gets maybe perhaps mummy is not someone that he turns to first, but does he turn to daddy then?
I mean, I always try to make myself available. There was once, I think, after terrible shelling from mummy, he tried to take a walk. He tried to run away.
No.
So I followed him, walked around. I mean, I knew that he didn't want to say anything just then. So I just was beside him all the way.
Right.
With just, letting him know that I'm just 2 steps behind and that if he were to come to any danger, I'll just be there. So I take the same approach. I always tell them that I'm available. I do try, if I can, to speak to them, speak to him, but he tends to have this clamping up moments where he doesn't want to share anything.
Yeah.
I think that's okay.
Yeah.
As long as they know that you're there, you're available, and there's always someone that he can turn to.
Yeah.
So in his time, I think
Yeah.
he will eventually realize that if I need help, if I need someone to speak to, I can always turn to daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was very funny because it was like, oh, I didn't want daddy to be around. But I can't outrun him. He's running faster than me. I can't do that. So yeah, that was like, okay, I accept it. You know, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Right. But so now that, you have Audrey and Isaac, and then you've got 3 others now who will soon be moving into this. What do you think is, do you think you'll treat or be able to handle things differently when the other 3 also come into that stage?
I think with a bit more experience, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
We should be able to handle
What do you think you'll do different?
Okay, to begin with, all the kids have different personalities. So we actually treat them differently depending on how they need to be treated.
Yeah.
So it's not a one mold fits all kind of concept.
Wonderful. Yeah.
So we try to play to their strengths as well as we know what their the weaknesses are, and we try to tailor it such that they know that at the end of the day, what matters most is not grades, but whatever happens, they will still have our love for them, and we try to tailor our teachings, our concepts to each child's strengths and weaknesses.
I mean, I think academic work already, work in school is already so, frustrating. And it's also, there's so much pressure there as well. How do you talk to them about the faith?
Okay, so we set aside every Sunday evening. So we don't do social engagements. What we usually do is that we spend time with them for dinner. And after dinner, we usually play a family game. So this originated from back in circuit breaker COVID, right?
Okay.
So Michelle would come up with games, very simple games to play with as a kind of family bonding. And after that, we would sit down to break the word. So we would go through the day's readings and get them to choose a line from either the first, second, or gospel. And then...
So a bit like Lectio Divina. Something like.
And they're supposed to reflect on why they like the line and how it speaks to them. Yeah. Wow. So we do this every Sunday without fail.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. And how did it take to that?
I think it didn't change. Okay, it's not something that you can expect overnight.
Yeah.
The first few times it was like at dinner, and then we had to coax them into like, okay, mommy and daddy will prepare dinner. Everybody sits down and kind of let mommy and daddy tell you what is today's mass about. It's just like, and then you'll be like, oh, are we done yet? That sort of thing. And we were like, okay. Then slowly, of course, we have the games to ease it, right? So that was like, I think that was like 4 years ago, four years ago, And then after that, it slowly became, I think they are old enough to say something on their own. And there are many times where they actually wowed us. Like a recent thing was, I think recently there was this reading about Jesus going to heal everybody. And then he decided to just go to the mountain and just stop and reflect by himself, right?
Right.
And then the disciples came and looked for him and said that, look, where shall we go now? And he's like, okay, come, let's just go all throughout Galilee, right? Yeah.
No, they said, let's go up and move to Capernaum, because I was sent to preach to all the whole of
Israel.
Yeah. So he went throughout the whole land, and our number 3, Julian, was always a rebel. Okay, we always call him a rebel because every time we ask him to do 1, he will do 2. He doesn't do 1 and 2 to make you happy, He does 2. And I'm like, Julian, really? And he was like, I think God must have loved us a lot. I was like, why? He went throughout the country. Singapore is already so small, but to go throughout Singapore, right? I'll be damn tired. Actually, Jesus would love the people so much that he would go every single place to not miss out anybody. And I'm like, okay, I didn't get
true.
that.
They're teaching you as well.
But they're cute,
Wow.
Yeah, but I always tell him, okay, I think you should just be a businessman and raise funds for the church. In case you think that he should be a priest, I would volunteer my
There
life.
was this incident, I think, back when there was circuit breaker, right? So he came up with this very interesting concept. So we were asking him, what makes a saint? Saint is somebody who
That's miracles.
who does miracles.
Okay.
Then he told us. So we were watching online mass back then. So he said, Archbishop is a saint. And I said, why is that? Because he changes bread and wine to the body and blood of Christ
Wow.
at every mass.
I know.
I said, okay.
Wow.
I know. So it's very amazing to see faith through the eyes of the kid.
Yeah.
And all of them would actually come up with very, very small ways, like how Kira's number 4, she's 9 this year. How Kira would say that, I recently we had the reading on Abraham sacrificing his son,
That's right.
right? And she's like, I think it calls us to carry our cross, but at the same time, God challenges us, but his test is very different for different people. Because we always think that we always imagine ourselves to be Abraham, right? And like, how are we going to sacrifice our child? But I think it came from the wisdom of a kid,
Yeah.
right? To say that, no, but, I don't think we need to worry about that because your test will be just the maximum of what you have or you are called to do. That sort of thing. And it's this whole moments where we thought that we have been instilling the faith, but it's actually the kids reminding us
Yeah.
of these pockets of wisdom that like, oh, okay, that's something new I need to reflect on,
Wow.
that I don't need to be so worried and scared about faith, and all. So I guess that is the heartening thing of the whole Bible sharing with the kids, and it's very interesting sometimes to sit down and to listen to what is their input in it.
Yeah. Wow. That is-
It's really good. I'm waiting for the time when I can, speak to my children. They're a little bit young, but I'll use that. I'll definitely use that. I have a question. So, like, obviously, faith is a big part of your family, but in essence as well, it has to be part of both of you, right?
Mm.
And how does faith play that role when they, kids, especially teens, start questioning you, challenging you, asking you questions that perhaps you don't know? How do you rely on faith and how do you respond?
I think we need to start always with from the angle that even if we don't know, we should always do our best to try to find out.
Mm.
And what they always look up to is always a mirror. So if we mirror that faith that we have between husband and wife, extending to the family, they would be able to see it in action every day, right? So from there, it starts from mirroring, and then they come to maybe because they have not actually experienced a whole reality. So for them, this would be, oh, so this is the reality that I'm growing up in.
Right.
So this must be the way that life should be. So it sets a certain grounding for them. And I think with any like related questions that, if we cannot answer, I would always make it a point to try to find out more, to learn more about it and get back to them. Because I think kids don't expect you to have all the answers at your fingertips.
I think it's
all
better
that,
to tell them that you don't know the answer, and I think they will respect you for that, actually. Yeah. Because, to be honest, I learned that very quickly when I used to lecture in the polys and uni, right? And if you try to tell your students and throw smoke at them, that's it. You lost them for the whole semester. So if you don't know something, you better tell them, I really don't know. Can I come back to you?
Yeah.
And then, but I've taken that back. I took that back as well, and told my kids, Daddy, Mom, we don't have the answer for you at this point in time. And some questions are like really, really difficult if they are
tough, yeah.
faith questions or questions about life. Choosing a partner.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially now, right? I mean, gender ideology, things like this. And, kids are so
Correct.
connected. They're
Yeah.
getting information from everywhere.
But I guess for me, I think what I've learned in faith is also to be vulnerable in front of them.
Mm.
Yeah, because I think growing up, we are always trying to tell them that mommy and daddy are fine. But actually, mommy and daddy aren't fine. At times, mommy and daddy aren't fine.
Right.
Motherhood, parenthood gives you the greatest pain. Okay, you can suffer PTSD from it. I tell you,
Yeah.
I'm still suffering from it. But it is true. And I think faith comes in where it just reminds you that what you've done is good enough. But could you do better? Yes, and that's for tomorrow. You know that so you don't blame yourself for like you don't beat yourself up
Yeah.
all the time, and you just paralyze yourself for that,
Correct.
and you just just deem it as hopeless. Because I guess faith comes in where you don't know what's going to happen. You can't see the light at the moment,
Absolutely.
but you just get the grace to continue. You just find the strength in you also to just see the moment through, and just slowly enjoy the moment. And don't be caught up with the whole anxiety of, would my child be okay? Am I doing fine? Did I there are reflection questions, but at the same time, you don't hang yourself on the cross because of that, and just penalize and therefore say that I am a bad mom and therefore I should not deserve anything and so on and so forth. I guess that for me was how faith had helped me throughout.
Yeah.
And I always remind myself that I am also a gift from God, and so are they. But they are also, even though they are my kids, they are a child of God. So if anybody who is really eager to pursue them, it will be him. And if I really mess up, he will really work doubly hard to make sure that they will be fine. And I guess that's the whole thing about faith, right? You need to trust that they will be fine, and you are fine, and all is well, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I think it's a journey that families go through, this having kids and growing together as a unit. It really is a lifelong, well, in a sense, lifelong, because you're a parent, you then become a grandparent, and that's the stage I'm at already. And so,
I still a long way more for
yeah. Yeah. But it's, as a grandparent, I find that I have a second chance to correct mistakes that when I look back and I think, my goodness, was I like that? Or did I think like that before? Right? So, but, by the grace of God, right, He brings us together as families. And you're right, as parents, I think this topic actually, although we're talking about, we want to connect with teenagers, but really, actually, it's also about how we reflect, our lives reflect upon them, and how do they look at us? And look, can I talk to mom and dad? Is it the right time to speak to mom? Is it the right time to speak to dad? There's so much going on in their own world as well. It's a tussle from both sides, actually, and actually both sides are growing. But you talk about grace, right? And grace being sufficient, and don't hit yourself over the head, and because the Lord will not want that for you to do that. Because if you've done and you can honestly close your eyes at night in peace, you may be troubled, but you can sleep in peace because you're tired, and you can close your eyes, right, and have that rest. That's already a blessing.
Yes.
And that's the blessing the Lord wants to continue to give to you, even though you have your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the grace of being a Catholic or a Christian, right?
Yeah.
To know that, the Holy Father is the one that has dealt with all this pursuing of a kid, of trying to court a kid and trying to get them to know that they love him or he loves them. And the same time, that he's the one who's also dealt with the most rejections, the most times where people say no to him, the most rebelling, and I could be one of the rebels, and I guess that is the whole, like, that I'm not alone, that I'm actually understood.
Yeah.
It may not be a community I can see, but it's this whole greater being of going back to this being that I will be fine. And I guess that's the assurance as a parent,
Yeah.
regardless what age your child is, regardless what will happen. It's more important that God will be there. And you need to trust that,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
confirmation of it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's, I mean, obviously it's great to have, a good teammate in this as well, in your husband, the both of you sort of like relying on each other.
Yeah.
I just want to ask, right? I mean, you guys see a lot of soon to be married, couples at CEE, right? How do you engage with them and share with them? I'm sure some of them are perhaps even afraid to be parents.
We try to inspire them, but I don't think that will make a difference in their lives. We try to communicate with them. But more importantly, I guess we always tell them to just pray. Because at the end of the day, God just wants you to be the best versions of yourself. It's not a copy of Dan and me. It's a reflection of love.
Yeah.
It's a testimony of your sacrament to each other. It's not just okay, be a benchmark and you continue to be at this benchmark.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we just want them to live out happy and God spirited, God centered marriages. And that's more important than being inspired to have a kampong of kids, right? Like,
You're about there. 5 kids already.
we are there. Like, what? Yeah. My gynae would tell me, no more, Michelle, no more.
Oh, well, if the Lord wants to give.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Lord gives.
Indeed. Guys, I had so much fun. I even forgot to, in between, reintroduce you guys. But really, this is, about the time that we have. But, thank you so much. I've truly enjoyed this chat with the two of you and with Ray as well. And, my prayer for the two of you is that you continue to grow in strength. And I can see this wonderful bond between the two of you. And the kids that you have, they are truly blessed to have you. And so, we ask the Lord to continue to bless your entire family and both of you abundantly, right? And that you continue also to do the work that you are doing in the parish as well as, in the ministry that you're with in CEE, right? And so, dear friends, I want to thank Michelle and Daniel. I can call them you both goes now, because rather than Michelle Nguyen. Michelle and Daniel, thank you so much, really,
Thank you
for
for
opening
having
your
us.
opening your hearts and opening your homes in a sense by sharing with us your lives and giving us just a little window of what life is like with 5 kids. Wow, that really is fantastic.
Yeah, we don't have
Wonderful.
pets, but it's fine, like.
Amen. That's enough.
I'm sure the kids would have asked.
Yeah.
I'm sure, right?
Everyone asked. I was like, no, I have kids. I don't need pets. Yeah, I'm like.
Ray?
Yeah, well, I thank you so much. This is the first of our family life
That's right.
series.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you guys are the first ones,
Oh,
right?
the pioneer.
Yes, the pioneers. So thank you so much for being on. Now, with that, we've wrapped up for today, and I hope the listeners and viewers have enjoyed our first show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so stay tuned. There's more coming from this Family Life series together with Catholic Radio on the Bright Side.
Indeed. And just a reminder that the Brightside broadcasts are also every alternate Thursdays at 8:30, and our on-call broadcast will be at 8 p.m. tonight, the same day, and of course 5 p.m. tomorrow. Alternatively, of course, you can catch all our podcast versions of this episode, and you can listen, of course, to the Catholic SG Radio app, Spotify, and Apple. Yes, and in time, you'll also be able to watch this on our Archdiocese YouTube channel.
Woohoo!
Okay.
You guys can watch it.
So with that, I'm Andrea Chuck. He's Raymond Wong. Daniel and Michelle, thank you so much for joining us and being with us. God bless and love you all.
Thank you.
Bye.